and I'm coming to you on behalf of E.P.I.C. E.P.I.C is empowering people, inspiring community, and we are here to be your source of positive, conscious media. So again, my name is Samantha, and I'm so grateful to be here with you. Lisa, the co-publisher and co-creator of E.P.I.C, is in Cheshire. She's working our feed. She's looking at the comments. She's going to be posting websites and links and information. So please let us know that you're here. You're the only way that I know that we're here together. So give us a comment in the comment field, please, and let us know that you're here. Let us know how you're doing. So again, today's Friday, and in a few minutes, I'm going to be introducing an absolutely magical, I guess is the word that just came, magical guest. He comes to us with a ton of energy, a ton of light. And I know that once we have our guest here, you're going to really, really enjoy our time together. Before I do bring on Ed, I want to acknowledge everybody for where you're at and where we're at together as a whole. Each day, Lisa and I send you prayers and Reiki and the highest vibrations of affirmation and just pure love, knowing that, yes, we are going through a time that is not real comfortable. It is different, and we're here for you. If you're feeling isolated, you need somebody to talk to, please reach out either through the Facebook links, the private messaging, our phone numbers everywhere. So please reach out to us. And now, without further ado, we are going to bring on our guest today, Ed Hare from Fast Eddie Drums at Sharing the Light, comes to us from Avon and brings with him, like I said, a very unique light, a beautiful story, some great tips. So stay in and listen and stay with us because you're really going to enjoy it. This gentleman's motto, his life motto is never do in moderation that which you can do in excess. So if that is any indication of the energy that Ed is going to bring, that's it. Never do in moderation that which you can do in excess. So give me a moment while I bring in Ed from Sharing the Light, Fast Eddie. Hey.
Hello, Samantha. And by the way, I will begin by pointing out that that motto has occasionally got me into a bit of difficulty in my life, but it's under better control now. So it's certainly a pleasure being invited to do this. Glad we could fill in at the last minute, as it were, and I'm happy to do that anytime.
Yeah.
Once upon a time in my life, I was afraid to do public speaking. And then my job required me to do so. And I got to the point where one day when I showed up and they told me I was the banquet speaker, I just took it in stride and handled it. So feel free to draw on me anytime.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can remember when I first met you over at Sharing the Light. It was for, I believe, a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And you were so generous and so real and authentic. It was when Lisa and I were first, I believe we're just starting E.P.I.C or pondering the idea even. And you helped us so much by giving us so much material and information to draw on. So thank you for being here since the beginning, before the beginning of E.P.I.C, really. And I think that's an attestament to the heart that you bring to everything you do.
Well, as you may remember at that first meeting when I presented, I did the screen that said, the rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
And so to see another magazine come online like this, I thought it was absolutely wonderful. And when people are trying to do good things, I want to help. It's just my nature.
Yeah. And that's funny because our motto, Lisa and I, our motto through this COVID-19 experience has been all ships rise together.
Yes, same thing. All a rising tide lifts all boats. And part of my mission in life is to help everyone understand that there is a wealth of infinite possibility available to us. Not only we in the spiritual community, the choir, as it were, but lots and lots of people out there that are like we once were, not knowing much about this. We want to reach them, and the kind of work you're doing will do that. When you show up in a grocery store, we'll get somebody new.
Awesome.
All right.
Everybody, please let me know that we're live out there. I'm not really seeing any comments here. And as always, with a live interview, we go with it, we improvise, and I just need to know that we're here. And we will start the interview. I'm going to check with Lisa in Cheshire as I do. Everything appears to be working perfectly, so I say we're going to go with it, Ed. Okay,
Let's go
and
for it.
we're going to go for it. We're oh
Those who need to be here will be here.
yeah, and Lori's here. Hi, Lori. Hi, Lori. Okay, so Ed, who are you? Who is Ed? Can you tell us a little bit about
Well,
who
oh my goodness, Ed. Oh, well, which Ed do you want? Ed, the street hippie from 1968, Ed, the drunken poet, or Ed, the Ed that's here now? But
you
I think I'll talk a little bit more about now.
are?
I like to call myself the third half of sharing the light. Cheryl and Sully own the business. I'm Sully's husband, so they drag me in to do things, which I'm happy to do. And I'm probably best here known for the drum work I do, building drums, selling drums, drum building classes. In fact, the reason I call it Fast Eddie Drums is kind of spiritual. I believe I am not a being progressing through time. I believe that I am living different aspects of who I am in each part of my life. So that street hippie, that wild young man who did some pretty, well, 1960s things, would not be compatible with the electronics engineer I am now. And so living different parts of self and different parts of life, I can see how they're all cross-coupled across time. I draw on that street hippie. He drew on my stability, so he didn't go too far down some of the wells that we could have gone down in the 60s. So it's one big life. We are one being through all of it. And that's why Fast Eddie, because that was my street name. I also lead discussion groups here. Monday we do a metaphysical meetup where we just talk, usually some pretty interesting and wild ideas. I do a presentation on the physical properties of crystals, kind of focused too on how to avoid many of the fake crystals that are out there. So that's kind of the sharing the light, but I didn't want to talk about that through the whole thing.
Right.
I still work full time. I work for ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, and believe it or not, I am that electronics engineer that we all think to be rigid and locked into those logical ways, which I am at times. But I also bring this to the world of engineering. I talk about these things with all of my engineering friends using their words and terms, and by golly, they are interested. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
If we talk to them in their language, they open right up to it and love it. In ARRL, part of my job is building community. And what I like about that is I can bring that 30 years of skills doing that into this arena. I work with industry committees where we'll put people with widely different views, competitors in the same room and say, we need to write a standard, find your common ground, find your agreements, and somehow or another we get that done. And I think that skill is valuable here as well. I'm doing things like, in fact, what I may have shared with you early on is a directory of all of the holistic practitioners in the state of Connecticut. How many do you think I have identified? I'll surprise people. 500. 500 practitioners, businesses, yoga centers, and all of that in the state of Connecticut. It blows my mind. I'm about to go live with it. So anybody who's in that business, they will have access to that. People who want to find practitioners, go. You don't have to be a member of anything. If I know about you, you're in. So perfect.
That's beautiful.
So that's kind of Ed, that you've been through the Holistic Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And now here I am living this part of my life, probably in a state of change. My engineering world, I'm almost 70 now, is drawing to a close. Yeah, I know. I'm younger than I look.
You look great, Ed. Who are you kidding?
No, I mean, I'm older than I look. So at any rate, with that, who I am, take it away, Samantha, and ask any questions, fire away.
Well,
see if you can put me on the spot. I love it.
I love what you said about how you brought your professional life, the lab, the technology, and the industry standards, and all that corporate per se engineering energy. How you've married it so perfectly with the holistic and community aspect of it. So bless you for that. That's
Well,
kind
it's
of
all
what,
one life. It's all one existence.
right,
So, like,
right,
the Lord working his ways through that, the Lord working his ways through this, it's all one and the same.
right.
There's no
And
part of being that is not God. And I
yeah,
believe that with my whole heart. So, of course, you can do this there.
right. And you can, and that is what Epic does also. Our goal is to meet people where they're at. So regardless if you're a laboratory tech or whatever, we're here to meet people where they're at, and to empower and inspire them in whatever areas they're interested in. So thank you for doing your part of that too. Um, I'm looking forward someday. I'm going to take that drum building workshop. I've seen your drums at Sharing the Light, absolutely beautiful. If anybody has a chance when we do reconvene and we're free to roam about the universe, go over to Sharing the Light. There's a ton of beautiful drums that are displayed that Ed has created. If you want to know anything about drums, reach out to Ed.
Well,
But
and we also do the classes here, which I
yeah,
think when we get started, they're going to be smaller than my usual, my 3 or 4 people. Little distancing, I think, will be with us for a while. But
yeah, yeah,
let's just say I'm planning when we get back together a number of fun and, well, cost saving things. Look, right now, a lot of people are hurting.
yeah.
And so they may want to build a drum and it could help them. I think I'll find a way to make some of this happen.
I have no doubt.
Look for the
I,
surprises.
I have no doubt. And make sure you keep us posted too, because we'll help you share that word. You share in the light, we'll share the word.
I have plans. I won't let them out of the bag yet.
I love it. I love it.
All right.
So, right now, we had touched a little bit on COVID and how things are changing and how we may show up differently in the future. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you feel COVID is showing up, um, showing up in your life, and also how you see it expanding outward and affecting others? And tell us about that and your story too. I'd love to hear your story.
Well, if we have time, if not, the
Okay.
story can maybe wait another day. But
Okay.
I've seen posts about COVID all over the place. Even in the spiritual community, some, of course, talking, "Oh no, no, the universe is doing this to get us to change. It's trying to teach us a lesson." And I thought about that some, and it's more than that. It has to be. It is not a single lesson. When I look at all the different people, Samantha, that are drawing different things from this, some are drawing compassion, some are drawing protection, some are seeing the big picture and the new energies arising. There are 7 billion individual lessons coming from this. And so I said, this is not a lesson. This is yet another opportunity that the universe gives us to have a wide range of experiences from which we can draw and create our own lessons. I'm seeing that everywhere. When I talk to everybody, they say COVID is something this. One person said it's this, another person said it's something else. Now, having said that, though, I had a conversation the other day that led me to realize that there is a bigger lesson in all of this, because this is also opportunities for us to connect with compassion. It's an opportunity for us to connect and build community, to bring in people of widely different views, like I do in my industry work, and find that common ground, even possibly moving. And the opportunity is here for us to use this to make global changes in the way we think and interact with each other. It's an opportunity. We may or may not succeed, but the universe will come back at us again and again and again with different ways to allow us to not only develop ourselves as individual parts of God, but to develop ourselves as a community and even as a oneness moving toward a whole. I mean, it's all of that. So I say it's not a lesson, it's an infinite number of opportunities. Let's figure out which ones are right for us and take them.
I love it. I love that the way that you described it as 7 billion individual opportunities.
Yes, and we will create our own lessons from this. Now, what we ultimately individually do from this, well, that's up to each of us. What will we collectively create? I'm really looking forward to that. There is new energy here. I've seen some who say, well, this is going to like completely negate everything we ever was, because everything we ever were is wrong and bad. And I says, no, there's a lot about what I had in my life that I really like. There's also some things I think we can change. So let's be selective. Let's use our own love of what we really love to say, what can we do with this? And not only see the opportunity, but remember there are people who are also hurting from this. Over a lifetime, I've learned trust. I mean, we're talking often in this community about trust and acceptance and love. Well, I've
Mm-hmm.
learned over my life to trust myself. Look, we've all done it. We have been in some horrible jams in our life.
Oh, yes.
Every one of us. Every one of us has been down one of those pits that we had to crawl back out of, and yet we made it. We're here. Every one of us should remember this. When this is a hard time, we've gotten through everything we want. I trust my soul's journey. I don't believe that we have a universe that says, oh, I'm going to give great luck to Ed over here, but George over here, I'm sorry, your life is going to suck. George was involved in that at the soul's level, just like my soul chose this lifetime with its ups and downs and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to trust that. The universe also has a purpose that's present in here and available to us. So putting it all together, I can really live from that state of trust that we talk about as a spiritual concept. And when I do, I find that life unfolds almost as if by magic.
Right. You had mentioned earlier in some pre-broadcast writings that you sent over about, there was a time 12 years ago when you were diagnosed with a diagnosis,
lymphoma,
and you made it through. Can you tell a little bit about how that period in your life has gotten you to the point of faithfulness and trust that you're at now?
Oh my goodness, that was like the most incredible experience of my life. Now, some people would say, oh, I'm glad I got through it. I'm glad I had it. Not only did I end up with lymphoma, but at the same time, I had some major storm damage to my house. We found that the interior contained a lot of asbestos. So we told the guys, gut the house. They completely gutted every single bit of the interior of my house. That's when I get the diagnosis of lymphoma. A lot of that we had to pay for ourselves. So we ended up being on chemotherapy. Going to my house every night, swinging a hammer until 10 o'clock at night, working full time, just never, ever, ever giving up. Now, the story I like to tell about this is, of course, when it first happened, we go to the doctor. I'm with Sully, my wife, and they give us the thing. We get out, she's going, I said, stop right there. This is going down. I am determined that I can create the reality I want. I am not going to give into this and allow this to take me. I got too much stuff to do. And that became part of what drove me. People said, Ed, I'm going to pray for you. I said, oh, please do. But do me a favor. You do not have to pray for my well-being. No matter how this turns out, my well-being is assured. I mean, if I ended up concluding my life as I will one day and move on, that's well-being too. I said, pray that my faith remains strong. Maybe pray that this doesn't suck too bad, but that's the kind of prayer I think that will help me through this, and it did. 12 years ago, it's gone now. That chemotherapy took care of it. My attitude took care of it. My determination took care of it, and putting it all together, a type of lymphoma that is rarely completely cured is gone. And if it comes back, I'll kick its ass all over again.
That's right, you will. We have no doubt about that. And I love that you shared that, because there's people, even with the COVID situation right now, we could take parts of that story and parts of that beautiful energy that you shared and internalize it a little bit, make it our own, and use that to walk through this time that we're in right now. So bless you. And yeah, there's no doubt that you will continue to kick ass at no matter what is put in front of you, or no matter what you attempt. There's no keeping you down. I mean, your energy is just palpable.
Well, there is no keeping me down. In part, that trust of self, because look, self is God.
Yes.
I mean, what I know myself to be is God living within me, and then God's living in you, and all these people that hang out with me, and we're interacting, and God playing with God, and then there's that great big God that's beyond what I even know. I love it. Yes. And all of that put together is my team. That's my tribe, and somehow or another, we got this.
It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Is there anything else that you would want to expand on in regards to the COVID situation? Maybe a few quick tips on your routine. What is your routine, Ed, now that, everything looks a little different in our daily doings? How are you?
Oh, it does. And I get a little discouraged at times. I mean, I miss the days when I could just walk into the store and not have to stand in line because they can only let 25 people in the store. And I went to Stop and Shop, and they have these big one-way arrows through all of the aisles. And then you got to stand in line, and they'll shout at you from a register, and you got down and they're behind plexiglass. I miss all of that. But we will never, ever, ever again take for granted the ability to just shake a stranger's hand. We'll never take for granted the fact that we can just give each other a great big hug when we feel like it. All of that will suddenly, for all time, have new meaning for us. But we talk about this, and I look a lot at the spiritual community, talking of high vibration and heavenly realms, and many of those things that are truly, truly there, and truly, truly our goals. But what dawned on me one day, Samantha, is when all of this happened, we all immediately went into our physical lives to look at ways to protect ourselves, look at ways to protect each other. This 3D experience became our go-to in this time of crisis. And I do not see that as a shortcoming. I see that as a step forward to realize that this life we are living is as much part of the heavenly realm as that heaven we imagine. In fact, I one time we had David Young here, who's a flutist, and he did a presentation on Mary Magdalene. And he says, I'm going to do a meditation. He said, Ed, I want you all to imagine you're in heaven. And in heaven, any thought you have is instantly manifest. So I thought, oh, I want a drum. And poof, a drum appeared at my feet. And I says, poof, I want another drum. And poof, a drum appeared at my feet. And I thought about it, and I says, oh, I want to build a drum. And poof, I found myself standing at home at my workshop making a drum. That's what I chose to do when I was in heaven. I mean, it just blew me away that this life we have chosen was our soul's journey choice to come here and have these experiences. And when we get into this and fully experience life and fully love it, we are doing exactly what our soul set off to do. And I'm seeing evidence of that even with COVID.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. And absolutely. And to give ourselves to that energy, and to give, for me, speaking personally, for myself, to just allow that heavenly existence.
Yes.
On a now moment to moment, sometimes moment to moment, hour by hour, day by day.
Well, and going into past moments and imagining future moments, it's all fine, And we talk often, Samantha, about being multidimensional. Well, multidimensional says we can be alive and having these living experiences, and also have those inner experiences to connect us to the non-living states. It's all one existence. We are not one or the other. If we truly are multidimensional, this is a dimension too. So is that. We can go and experience any of it in any moment, and it's all contributing to who we are. Just like my lymphoma house experience.
Right.
If I could push a button and make that go away, I would not push that button.
Right.
I am so glad that I had that. It was one of the most meaningful experiences of my entire existence. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And I always say that, about my addictions,
I've had a few.
Right. We had talked earlier about that. And I wouldn't erase those periods in my life, those many, many years of dysfunction and disease, because that is what created my now moment. That is what created this right here, right now. And I'm so
well. I even look back at that time, Samantha, for me, and I was too a lover of the rum and Coke. Never do in moderation. No, it was a bad thing. But at that time in my life, I was once so shy that I could barely speak my name in front of other people. And those experiences, let's just say I was less shy. If you could imagine the impact of rum and Coke on a 25-year-old man. And so that really opened me up in a lot of ways. And even through that, I can go back and look at the poetry I wrote. I mean, I call those my drunken poet days. I can see in that poetry the echoes even of today. And some of those poems, Samantha, made no sense to me at the time. I look now and say, oh my God, I wrote that today and gave it back to that young part of me. It's like amazing. So that even helped me cross-connect myself across all the times of my life. Wow. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? It's what I did. It opened me up in some ways. It also gave me the ability to rise past that. I can look at that and say, look, I had this addiction, and I managed to find of my own volition and free will and desires the rising past that. Well, how do you rise past something if you're not in it? So who knows how it works? There's mysteries there, and I love it. So it'll keep me going for the rest of my life.
You just gave me a beautiful epiphany. I'm sorry to interrupt, but during this COVID, I've had a lot of time to start cleaning out papers and going through old stuff. And I came upon one of my old sketchbooks from my
Nice.
home. And what you just said is going to help me go back and look at those sketches in a completely different way. I was almost afraid to open them. And now I can go,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for creating that thread in this tapestry. I do appreciate it.
What's the value of sharing? I call myself the dare to share guy.
That's it.
That's kind of a nickname I have with friends. And
that's it. And that's what Epic's about. And as we begin to wind down our time together, we might just have to do a part 2. Mr. Ed, we had talked about that.
What are you talking about, Wilbur?
I love you. I love you. I love you.
The younger generation is going, what's he talking about?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? We're going to meet them where they're at and love them right through everything.
Well, and learn and grow from them as well. They have things to show us old timers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, I'm young enough to have fun. I'm old enough to know how. And my wife, Sully, will tell you I'm never going to know better.
I love it. And tell Sully we said hello too. She was beautiful, a beautiful guest on Epic Interviews earlier this week. I want to thank you again for all you do for our community. Thank you for what you do for the chamber, for sharing the light for our world, for the universe, for myself personally. Absolutely priceless. My guides and teachers always give me an impromptu question to ask you.
I'm ready.
It's easy. It's really easy and really easy and quick. And it is, what is it? If Ed were to show up today, had the ability to show up as an animal, what animal would Ed be?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough question for me. I am gulping hard now because
Are you?
I will go to the meditations. They will say connect with your spirit animal, and I go, oh man, there's nobody here. I mean, honestly, and it's the most truthful answer I can give. I think I would show up just as I am.
Perfect.
I would just be me. It's like
That's perfect. I love it.
Maybe if I have an affinity, I have an affinity for the wolf.
Okay.
But I'm happy being an Ed.
Ed would be the Ed animal. The Ed
animal. Yes, a wild animal at times.
So again, thank you.
Okay, so I failed my test. I'm now a bad presenter.
Are you kidding me? You that was perfect. That was perfect. As always, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day, hanging in with us or hanging out with us, whatever it is. I want to thank Ed. I want to thank Sharing the Light. Thank Lisa. And as we begin another weekend of isolation, please know you're not alone. You're not alone. Reach out. We're here for you. And as we always say, stay healthy.
And put your mask on.
Put your mask on. And
it's funny. I feel silly wearing the mask, but people feel better. And if I can make people feel better right now, I'm all for it.
Peace out, Epic Scouts. Thank you so much, Ed. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.